The rain wasn't falling straight down that night. It was slamming sideways, violent and relentless, like the sky itself was angry with me. The kind of storm that soaks you before you even realize you're wet. The kind that makes you feel small, exposed, forgotten. Have you ever stood outside a place that was supposed to be your home and realized you weren't welcome anymore? What would you do if the people meant to protect you chose comfort over your safety? And how far would a family go to protect their favorite child, no matter who they destroy in the process? Because that night, standing on the public road outside my family's estate, shivering in a thin hoodie with my phone dying in my hand, I learned exactly where I stood. My name is Sierra, and I was 16 years old when my mother locked me outside in a storm. Through the warm glow of the living room window, I could see them clearly. My mother, Patricia, calmly pouring tea. My sister Tiffany curled up on the couch, wrapped in a soft blanket, safe and dry. They looked peaceful, comfortable, untouched by the chaos outside. The electronic gate stood between us, sealed shut. I knew she had locked it on purpose. My phone battery dropped lower with every passing second. 12%. 11. 10. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't beg. Because this wasn't the first time. Just 20 minutes earlier, the house smelled like roasted garlic and rosemary. I had been setting the table when Tiffany came running down the stairs, tears already perfectly placed on her cheeks. She held up her phone like a weapon and said $12,500 was gone. Her inheritance money. Stolen. She pointed at me. I didn't even get a chance to speak. My mother didn't check the bank app. She didn't ask questions. She just looked at me with that familiar disgust, the kind you reserve for someone you've already judged guilty. The slap came fast, sharp, filled with something darker than anger. Then she dragged me to the door and threw me out into the storm. Standing there in the freezing rain, I realized why I wasn't banging on the gate. Any normal teenager would have been screaming, begging to be let back inside. But I stayed silent, because something clicked. My mother wasn't trying to teach me a lesson. She was enjoying this. She wanted me to break, to plead, to crawl. She had spent years making me the villain so Tiffany could shine as the golden child. And if I begged now, I would be proving her right. So I wiped the rain from my face and looked down the road instead of back at the house. I wasn't waiting for forgiveness. I was waiting for my father. And when his headlights finally cut through the storm, everything was about to change. The room didn't erupt the way I expected. There was no screaming, no dramatic collapse. Instead, something worse settled in, an unbearable stillness. The kind that presses against your ears until you can hear your own heartbeat. My father stood there, holding the iPad like it weighed 100 pounds, while the truth glared at us from the massive screen. My mother recovered first. She always did. Her shock hardened into strategy. "You're overreacting," Patricia said sharply, straightening her sweater like this was a business meeting gone slightly off track. "Teenagers lie. They exaggerate. You're letting emotions cloud your judgment." My father finally turned to her. She took a picture of our daughter freezing outside. She laughed about it. "Explain that." Tiffany slid off the couch, knees hitting the rug. "I didn't mean it like that," she sobbed. "They were just jokes. Everyone jokes. Jokes don't empty bank accounts," my father said. "And they don't sabotage scholarships." That was the word that changed everything. Sabotage. My mother flinched, not at Tiffany's tears, but at the implication. Money could be returned. A bag could be shipped back. But a future? A future deliberately erased? That was harder to excuse. She felt threatened. My mother said quietly, trying a different angle. "You know how competitive girls are. Sierra has always been ambitious." I laughed. It slipped out before I could stop it. Dry. Hollow. "Ambitious," I said. "I didn't even tell anyone I applied. She went looking for it." My father looked back at the screen, scrolling deeper. Deleted photos. Deleted drafts. Notes filled with passwords, schedules, lists of things Tiffany wanted, things I had that she didn't. Each swipe stripped away another layer of the golden child illusion. This wasn't impulsive. It was organized. The realization hit him all at once. I saw it in his face, the moment guilt turned into fury. Not explosive fury. Focused fury. The kind that makes decisions. He locked the iPad and set it on the table. "Go upstairs," he told Tiffany. His voice wasn't angry. It was final. Patricia stepped in front of her. "You are not banishing her like some criminal. She committed a crime. he replied. Multiple. And what about her? My mother snapped, pointing at me. You're just going to believe her now? After all these years? My father finally looked at me, not as a problem, not as an afterthought, but as his daughter. No, he said. I believe evidence. That was the moment the balance of power shifted. And my mother knew it. Because when truth replaces favoritism, control starts to slip. The room didn't explode after the messages were revealed. It imploded. My mother stood frozen, blocking the television with her body like she could erase the evidence by sheer will. Tiffany had slid off the couch, sobbing into her hands, repeating the same broken line over and over. I didn't mean it like that. But my father wasn't listening anymore. His attention had narrowed to something colder, sharper. He looked back down at the iPad. Move, Patricia. No, she snapped. You've humiliated her enough. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't argue. He simply stepped around her and tapped the screen again. The TV changed. This time it wasn't Venmo. It wasn't messages. It was an email. Subject line: Congratulations, Summer STEM Initiative acceptance. My heart stopped. The date was yesterday. I had waited weeks for that email. I checked every hour. When nothing came, I told myself I wasn't good enough. That I hadn't made it. I never even thought to look in the trash. My father leaned closer to the screen. She got in, he whispered. Then he scrolled. A reply. Sent 20 minutes later. From my account. Declining the offer. Deleted. The room shifted. This wasn't jealousy anymore. This wasn't sibling rivalry. This was sabotage. You didn't just steal money, my father said, turning slowly toward Tiffany. You erased her future. Tiffany shook her head violently, panic replacing entitlement. I was scared, she cried. Everyone compares us. She was going to leave. She was going to win. That's when I stepped forward. You didn't want the money, I said quietly. You wanted to trap me. Silence. And for the first time in my life, my mother didn't defend her. She stood up instead, face hardening, voice flat. Get out, she said. Both of you. That was her final mistake. Because my father didn't argue. He picked up his phone and called the sheriff. The house felt different once the door closed behind them. Not empty, liberated. The storm outside raged harder, but inside, there was finally silence that didn't threaten me. My father locked the door, leaned his forehead against it for a moment, and let out a breath I think he'd been holding for years. The sheriff's red and blue lights faded down the driveway, taking my mother's power with them. Tiffany didn't look back. She couldn't. Because for the first time, there was no one left to believe her lies. Dad turned to me then, not as a mediator, not as a man trying to keep peace, but as a father who had failed once and refused to fail again. I should have seen it sooner, he said quietly. I won't miss it again. Later that night, wrapped in dry clothes with a mug of hot cocoa warming my hands, reality finally settled in. The scholarship office confirmed everything. The offer was reinstated. The deleted email recovered. My future, the one Tiffany tried to erase, was back in my hands. The trust violation triggered more than eviction. Child Services opened a case. Financial investigators followed the money trail. Tiffany's messages, the transfer, the fraud, it all became evidence. The golden child image didn't just collapse. It was documented, time-stamped, and archived. Weeks passed. The rain stopped. I left for the STEM program that summer, carrying more than acceptance letters. I carried proof that truth survives, even when buried. My mother tried to call once. I didn't answer. Some doors don't deserve reopening. Here's what I learned. Abuse doesn't always look like bruises. Sometimes it looks like tea being poured while someone freezes outside. Sometimes it wears the face of discipline. And sometimes the quiet kid isn't weak, just waiting for the truth to surface. If this story hit you, like the video, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Tell me in the comments. Do you want more family betrayal stories, legal revenge cases, or psychological thrillers next? Because the next story? It's even darker.